Before we start, make sure we don't lose you in the dark. Subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment to show you are here. I never thought I'd come back to Mason Pines. I left that place behind the day I turned 18 and never looked back. Not even when my mother passed or when old friends invited me to their weddings or reunions. Something about that town always felt wrong, like it was pretending to be normal. Like something under the surface was just waiting to be seen again. But I came back last fall. Not because I wanted to, but because I had no choice. My younger cousin Dylan went missing. They said he left the house after dinner and never came home. They found his bike lying on its side at the edge of what used to be Hollow Creek Park, right near the playground. The same one I swore I'd never step foot in again. I arrived late. The sky was that cold October gray that makes everything look like it's been drained of color. My aunt was frantic. The police had already searched the area twice. No sign of him. No witnesses. Just a vague report from a kid who claimed he saw Dylan talking to someone near the monkey bars after sunset. A girl in a white hoodie. No one knew who she was. But I did. I remembered her. The last time I saw that playground, I was 11. It was the day Marcus Ellis disappeared. We were just kids then, daring each other to hang upside down the longest on the rusted jungle gym, laughing too loud, trying to forget how weird things had gotten after dark. The playground didn't have lights. It just sat there at the edge of the woods like it was dropped from the sky and forgotten. There were always stories. Kids said the swings would move on windless nights or that you'd hear laughter from under the merry-go-round. But the story that stuck with me was about the girl, the one who played there after dusk. They said if you talked to her, you wouldn't come home. We used to joke about it, until Marcus vanished. No one ever found him, not even a shoe. After that, the parents stopped letting their kids play there. Eventually, the park was shut down and fenced off, but people still talked. Whispers at school, teachers who lowered their voices, and one thing I never forgot. Marcus was last seen talking to a girl on the monkey bars. Now Dylan was missing. Same place, same time of day, same ghost. I walked to the park alone that evening. The police had already moved on and the neighborhood was quiet. Leaves crunched under my boots and my breath came out in mist. The playground looked smaller than I remembered, like something out of a childhood dream gone stale. The merry-go-round was half buried in mud, the slide covered in rust, the swing set creaked with no wind, and the monkey bars still stood tall in the middle like a skeleton watching over everything. I stepped through the broken section of the fence. My heart pounded. I didn't believe in ghosts. Not really, but I believed in what I saw that day with Marcus. I believed in the look on his face when he turned around to tell me he heard someone whispering his name from the tunnel slide. I believed in the way he walked toward it like he didn't want to, but couldn't stop. I believed in what I never told the police, and standing there again, I felt that same pull. Like something was watching me, like the air around the jungle gym had thickened. I called out Dylan's name once, twice. No answer. But I did hear something else. Not words, not movement. Laughter, soft and high. A child's voice echoing from the shadows under the monkey bars. And then I saw her, just for a second. Pale face, long dark hair, white hoodie. She stood behind the bars, smiling. Then she was gone. I didn't tell the police what I saw. They wouldn't have believed me anyway. A girl in a white hoodie laughing under a rusted monkey bar structure in an abandoned playground isn't exactly something that shows up on a missing persons report. But I knew what I saw. I drove back to my aunt's house, hands shaking the whole time. She asked if I'd seen anything, and I told her no. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, her eyes red and hollow. I didn't want to give her false hope or tell her that the last time I saw that girl, another boy disappeared and was never found. I barely slept that night. I sat in my childhood room staring at the ceiling while memories I'd locked away crept back in piece by piece. I remembered the night after Marcus vanished. I was sitting in this very room when I heard something tapping on the window. When I pulled back the curtain, I saw a handprint. Small, too small to be Marcus. And on the glass drawn in fog were 3 words: "Come play again." I told myself I imagined it. My parents told me I was dreaming. But I remembered how cold the glass felt, how the print didn't fade for hours. The next morning, I drove to the library. If anyone in this town still knew the old stories, it'd be Ms. Crowley. She ran the local history archive and had been there since I was in grade school. She barely looked up when I walked in. "Mason Pines never changes," she muttered as she led me to the microfilm machine. I told her I was looking into old reports about Hollow Creek Park. She didn't ask why, just nodded like she already knew. "You're not the first," she said. "Most don't get as far as you did." I asked her what she meant. She pulled a manila folder from the bottom drawer. Inside were clippings, photos, drawings, reports going back decades, kids vanishing, always after dark, always near that playground, and always the same detail. Witnesses reporting a girl in white, smiling, never speaking. I flipped through the folder and one photo caught my breath. It was black and white, grainy, dated 1954. A school field trip, kids laughing on the swings, and in the background, blurry but unmistakable, a girl standing near the jungle gym wearing a white dress. Face pale, expression blank. Ms. Crowley leaned in and whispered, "They say she drowned. Long ago. Before the park was even built. Before this town had a name that the land remembers. And every few years it wants something back." I asked if anyone had ever come back after disappearing. She shook her head. Not as themselves. That stuck with me. I left the library with the folder in my backpack and dread sitting like stone in my stomach. That night I returned to the playground. I had to. Not because I wanted to find Dylan, though I did, but because I felt like something inside me had already been claimed. The jungle gym stood in the moonlight like a shrine to something forgotten. I stepped forward, clutching the old photograph in one hand. And then the laughter came again, louder, closer. It echoed around me, bouncing off metal and wood, but it didn't come from the shadows this time. It came from inside the slide. I turned and saw her, sitting at the top, her head tilted, her eyes locked onto mine. And without moving her lips, I heard her voice inside my head. "You came back. You promised." I wanted to run. Everything in me told me to turn around and get the hell out of there, but I couldn't move. Her voice kept echoing in my head, soft and cold like air from an open grave. "You promised." I didn't remember making any promise. I barely remembered her face, but the longer I stared, the more familiar she became. Her eyes were deep and empty, but they held something ancient, something older than the playground and the town and even my own memories. I took a step forward. The slide groaned under her weight, even though she wasn't moving. "Where's Dylan?" I asked, barely managing to speak. She didn't answer. Instead, she tilted her head and smiled like it was a game. He played, she whispered inside my skull. Now he's part of it. I clenched the photo tighter in my hand and held it up, showing her. Is this you? Her smile faded. The air around us grew colder. I saw my breath for the first time that night. She stood slowly, and the sound of metal creaking under her feet was deafening in the silence. Then she vanished. The next thing I remember, I was standing in the middle of the playground alone. No sound. No wind. Just that lingering feeling like I'd stepped out of a dream too fast. I walked back to my car, unsure if what I'd seen had even happened. But when I turned on the engine, the clock read 3:12 a.m. I'd only been there an hour, but it felt like days had passed. At home, I dug through old boxes in the attic, trying to find anything that might explain what was happening. Photos, journals, yearbooks. That's when I found it. An old drawing I'd made as a kid, folded inside a crumbling notebook. It showed the playground, drawn in thick crayon lines, and in the middle was a girl in a white dress. I'd drawn her smiling, her hand reaching toward a stick figure with my name written above it. Best friends forever, it said across the top in shaky handwriting. I didn't remember making it, but the date scrawled in the corner said 2003. The same year Marcus vanished. I needed answers. I couldn't trust my own memory anymore, so I went to the only other person who might remember, James Keller. He'd been with Marcus and me that day. I hadn't seen him in years. He still lived in town, still bitter, still strange. When I showed up at his house, he opened the door like he'd been expecting me. "She's waking up again, isn't she?" he asked without greeting. I nodded. She took Dylan. He didn't look surprised. "She never takes them," he said. "She shows them something. Then they choose to stay." I asked what that meant, and he shook his head. "We were part of it. You, me, Marcus. We made a deal with her. You just forgot." I told him I never made any deal. He looked at me like I was lying, maybe even to myself. "She only needs one to remember," he said, and shut the door in my face. On the walk back to my car, I saw something that stopped me cold. A swing, just one, moving slowly in the windless night. And sitting on it was a boy, head down, bare feet dragging in the dirt. He looked up, and my heart dropped. It was Dylan, but his eyes weren't his. They were black, deep, endless. He opened his mouth, and in a voice that didn't belong to him, I heard, "She said you'd come back too." I didn't sleep after seeing Dylan. I couldn't. His voice, or whatever spoke through him, kept looping in my head. "She said you'd come back too." That wasn't a message. It was a warning. I stayed in my room until the first hint of dawn bled through the blinds. Then I grabbed my keys and drove. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to get away from the playground, from the house, from Mason Pines altogether. But something pulled me back. Not just guilt, not just fear. Something deeper, like my whole life had been leading me in a slow circle back to this one place, this one moment. I ended up at the edge of the woods behind Hollow Creek Park. There used to be a maintenance shed there, long since collapsed, and behind it a small creek that gave the park its name. I followed the path without thinking, letting instinct lead. As the trees closed in around me, the air got colder. The sounds of the town faded. And then I saw her again. The girl. Not a vision this time. Not a trick of the light. She was standing in the middle of the creek, barefoot, her white hoodie soaked through. Her head tilted slightly as I stepped closer, my heart hammering in my chest. "Why us?" I asked. "Why Marcus? Why Dylan?" She didn't blink. Because you opened the door, she said. You played the game. I shook my head, but the memories were already forming. I saw us, Marcus, James, and me, years ago walking through these same woods, a summer afternoon, daring each other to go deeper, past the no trespassing sign, to the old concrete foundation buried under weeds. Someone had spray-painted a circle there. Inside it, childish drawings of eyes, hands, teeth. We stood inside it, said the rhyme. One to see, one to know, one to never let it go. It was a joke, a dare, but something heard us, and something answered. That night, I dreamed of the girl for the first time. She was crying under the jungle gym, and I told her we could be friends. She asked if I'd stay forever. I said yes. I didn't mean it. I was 11, but a promise is a promise. The memories came faster now, like floodgates had opened. I remembered Marcus starting to change after that day, distant, quiet, saying strange things. One day he showed me a drawing, same as mine. The girl, the playground. Only his had something extra. A mirror hidden under the slide. He said she showed him things in it. I didn't believe him. I laughed at him. Then 1 week later, he was gone. I stood in the creek, soaked to my knees, staring at the girl as the water around her swirled unnaturally. You never came back, she said. So I waited. And when I got tired of waiting, I brought them to me. I wanted to scream, to run, but instead I said, "Take me, not him." Her head tilted again. "You already belong to me," she whispered. And with that, she disappeared beneath the water. The creek went still. The trees fell silent. And I knew what I had to do. If I ever wanted to save Dylan or myself, I had to go back to where it all began. Under the monkey bars, into the mirror. I returned to Hollow Creek just before dusk. The sky bled into violet and the wind had gone still, like the world was holding its breath. I stepped through the broken fence again, this time with purpose, not curiosity. I brought nothing but a flashlight and the photo of the girl I had found in the archive. The playground looked almost peaceful in the fading light, but I knew better. I walked past the rusted swings, past the crooked slide, until I stood beneath the monkey bars. There, in the dirt, barely visible through the years of decay, was a small hatch, metal, square, with a ring handle so rusted I had to kick it loose before it would move. Beneath it was a set of crumbling stone steps that led into pitch black. Turned on the flashlight and descended. The air was cold and wet. Every step echoed louder than it should have. The walls closed in quickly, carved from dirt and old concrete. I walked until the stairs ended in a small room. At its center stood a mirror. Not broken, not dusty. Perfect. As if someone had just cleaned it. Its frame was carved with symbols I'd seen before, in the circle from that summer afternoon with Marcus and James. And staring back at me from its surface wasn't my reflection. It was her. The girl. Her eyes locked with mine through the glass, and for the first time I saw something else behind her. Shapes, dozens of them, children, all staring, all silent. Their mouths moved, but I couldn't hear what they said. I stepped closer and the glass rippled like water, and I saw Dylan. Not a vision, not a ghost. He stood just behind her, expression empty, like he was dreaming with his eyes open. I shouted his name. He didn't move. She raised a hand and pointed at me. The mirror pulsed. My head throbbed. Memories rushed back in a wave. I saw every time I'd ignored the voice at night. Every time I'd walked past the playground pretending nothing was wrong. Every broken promise. Every laugh I shared with Marcus while he slowly unraveled. I had lied to myself for years. Told myself it was just a game. That we were just kids. That I hadn't meant what I said to her. But in that moment, the truth was undeniable. I had opened the door. I had made the promise. And the playground had never forgotten. I reached out. My fingers touched the surface of the mirror and felt warmth, like skin. Then it pulled me in. Not violently, not painfully, just like gravity shifting. One moment I was in the tunnel. The next, I was inside the reflection. And I wasn't alone. Dylan turned toward me. His eyes cleared. He whispered, "I want to go home." The girl appeared beside him, her face unreadable. "He can leave," she said, "but only if someone stays." I looked around at the other children. They watched silently, their eyes begging. Some had waited years, decades, trapped in a place born from forgotten promises and broken rules. I said, "Take me." She didn't move. She just watched me, eyes unreadable as if weighing the value of what I'd offered. Dylan stood frozen, caught between the two of us, a flicker of recognition finally returning to his face. "Please," I said, "let him go." The girl stepped aside. The children behind her stirred for the first time, their faces lighting up not with joy but with something closer to relief. She looked at Dylan and simply nodded. The glass behind them rippled again, and he stepped backward, hesitant at first, then faster as if waking from a long sleep. I saw him vanish through the surface. Then the mirror sealed, and I stayed. The space around me shifted. The mirror faded into mist. The tunnel disappeared. What was left was only silence and the feeling of being unmoored. The children gathered around me. They said nothing, but in their eyes I saw gratitude, sorrow, and a quiet knowing. Then one by one they faded, released, forgotten no longer. The girl remained. We stood face to face for what felt like hours. Then she did something I didn't expect. She smiled. A real smile, not cruel, not hollow, just tired. "You remembered," she said. "That's all it ever took." I wanted to ask what would happen to me now, but the words never came. She turned and walked into the dark, leaving me in a space that wasn't space at all. I waited, and the waiting became part of me. Sometime later, maybe minutes, maybe years, I heard laughter. Light. Familiar. I opened my eyes and saw Dylan standing beside a paramedic in the back of an ambulance. My aunt was crying. The police were shouting. People gathered. But I was gone. They never found me. Only my flashlight and the photo, resting on the ground beneath the monkey bars. They said Dylan must have wandered off and gotten lost, that he was lucky to have made it home alive. He never spoke about what he saw, but sometimes late at night he draws. And in every drawing there's a girl in a white hoodie standing behind a jungle gym. Always smiling. Always waiting. As for me, I don't know where I am. Not really, but I'm not scared anymore. I feel the breeze move through the swing set. I hear the leaves crunch beneath invisible footsteps. I see the mirror, even when it isn't there. And sometimes when kids sneak through the fence and dare each other to stay past sunset, I whisper their names through the cold October air. Not to scare them, just to remind them. Promises matter. Games have rules, and some playgrounds never forget who used to play there.